Oh, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our monthly Alliance of Independent Authors member Q&A. And this is the session where I, Orna Ross, Director of ALLi, the Alliance, and a special guest come together and answer the questions that our members have submitted as their most pressing self-publishing questions this month. And I am very delighted to be here today with Mr. Joseph Alexander. Hi, Joseph.
Hello, how you doing?
And Joseph was not all that long ago a guitar teacher, just teaching his pupils and showing them what to do. And then he began to write guides about that. And through that, this simple sort of range of books, he has become a self-publishing phenomenon. And he is writing a book about how it all happened, which I think is almost finished, almost there. Is that right?
Yeah, it's on the desk. I just keep getting other projects coming up to do first, but it's kind of nearly ready, yeah.
The indie author disease, author
Yeah.
project. And what's it called?
I think it's going to be called Self-Published Millionaire, but I'm not sure whether that's a cool title or not. It's kind of a bit clickbaity, but I'm not sure whether that's what I want to be known for.
I think it's a pretty cool title. It'll certainly attract some readers because you recently we were all there and kind of going when the million was topped, and talk to me a little bit about how that felt, but also talk to us about how it went from, as I said, teaching your local pupils how to play guitar to this.
Well, where to start? I think starting with the million, this is a really awful thing to say, but it becomes unimportant. I think what anybody should be looking for in any kind of sort of self-published or self-employed business is to look for something that's sustainable, and it was been more of a case of building what I do to sort of become a regular income rather than having this sort of target. And I never set out to do this, and the fact that that's kind of happened has been ridiculous, really. I just sort of sit and write books about how to play guitar and let people know about them. People seem to like them, so it's not the goal. And if that is your goal, I think you're doing it wrong. Personally, that your goal should be to entertain and educate and do the best that you can do and be passionate about what you're writing. And hopefully when you start, making some money, it's a byproduct. It's not the goal.
Interesting. So just talk a little bit though about how it actually happened. I mean, how did you market your way up to that, if you like? Was it very intentional? Was it accidental? Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard some of these stories before.
Yeah,
so just share them.
I think I said once I'd probably put more thought into my Halloween costume than my career, and it's sort of I love teaching and I love sort of sharing the knowledge. I went to music college and went to two music colleges, and yeah, I really love teaching. I love the educational aspect of it. So from there, when I was teaching, I saw the same questions sort of coming to me from students over and over again. So I thought, well, I can write some of this stuff down just to really give my students a bit more value in the lesson. If I've got a handout or something that they can be working with, and it will help them. So essentially that kind of became my first book. And just sort of being me, I wanted to give as much benefit to the student as possible. This was not intended to be a book by any means. It was just something to hand out to my students. So I figured, right, I'd record everything. I recorded all the examples and they went onto a DVD. And one of my students said to me, well, why don't you sort of send this off? Why don't you send it off to like a publisher, see if they're interested? This is, there's some good stuff here. So I thought about it. And again, it wasn't intentional, but sent it off to a group of guitar teachers of sort of, there's a registry of guitar teachers essentially. And they were like, we love this, we publish books, but unfortunately, like, you've got 3 DVDs here. This isn't a financially viable product. So I thought, oh, okay, no worries. I didn't have my hopes pinned on it or anything. And then I think it was another one of my students said, oh, you can self-publish. now. I was like, oh, right, okay. And I found out about KDP, stuck it up there. Through that, I found out about CreateSpace, stuck it on there. And this is coming up to 5 years ago now.
I was just going to say, when was it? Yeah, because I think it's important for people to realize that these are long-term things. It doesn't happen overnight, even for the most successful. Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know if anybody does get it overnight unless extremely lucky, I think. So yeah, it went out, and I think it was a book about jazz. It had an awful cover. It was absolutely terrible, and for some reason I think it sold like 7 or 8 copies in the first month or something. Oh, that's quite nice, you know, there's like £30, £40. If I can do that every month, put it away, that's a nice pension. And I thought, well, it's interesting that people are interested in that, and so I figured I'd write another one. Again, you know, awful covers, no real promotion behind it, and that started selling too. And I think if you go onto the ALLi Facebook page, people recently, I don't want to digress too much because I'm really bad for that, but people recently were saying, oh, you know, it's a really terrible time of year, sales have dropped through the floor and all that sort of things. So, well, actually, here's my graph, you know, and I wanted to show that over sort of 4.5 years, 5 years, you know, the peaks and troughs of that. What I realized is that how can I say this, that there isn't like necessarily consistency that goes through everything, but if I was adding more books, I was selling more books. And because of the cross promotional thing that Amazon do very, very well, you bought a book by Joseph Alexander, here's more books by him, or you'll be interested in this if you bought this. I suddenly became very visible, and I think I wrote 8 books in the first, I think it was about 18 months or something like that. And at that point, it just sort of got this sort of critical mass, and sales sort of exploded. I thought, well, I kind of want onto something here. And that was when it became sort of me taking on less private students, because I knew that if I spent more time writing the books, that would be more of a kind of a long-term
sustainable, as you said at the beginning, and you're reaching more people, obviously, than you can ever reach as an individual. That's exactly the power of books. And there was, just before we move on to our members' questions, which we will do very shortly, I liked the story about your covers, the branding, you know, that it all happened kind of by accident. If you could just share that.
Well, yeah.
Your sound's just disappeared. Sorry, Joseph. You just gone mute. Did you hit the mute button? Can you hear me? I'm not hearing you. Your sound has gone. It's like you hit the mute button or something by accident. Is that possible? Can you hear me? Hello? If you can just bear with us, folks, Joseph is going to log out and come back, I think. And hopefully you can hear me and can just hold on for a moment. Hello. Yes, you're back.
I'm sorry,
Thank
I don't
you.
know what happened there. That's very strange.
It was like you hit the mute button, or it just cut out in
Oh,
the
sorry
middle of.
for that and all the people that's watching.
Don't worry, people waited for you.
Good.
So yeah, you were just telling us about your covers because you had a kind of a funny story about accidentally doing a really good branding thing.
Well, yeah. So, long story short, now is that when I had the website updated and I got a professional company to do that. I said, well, listen, I'm making all these books. I'm terrible at Photoshop. Can you make me a template so I can just swap out the guitar, swap out the text, and put a different image and different color on the front? And they said, yeah, that's cool, no worries. And they charged me, I think, about £150 for it. And that accidentally became my branding. So instead of like spending 3 days to do a genuinely terrible cover, then I could spend about an hour, come up with something that looked like super, super professional. I updated all my previous books to the new branding, the second editions, that sort of thing. And then I simply had accidental branding, which people would, I think, would pay tens of thousands of pounds for. So now, if you search for guitar book on Amazon, you will see my stuff. And if you've bought one book, you'll instantly recognize the other stuff as well. So it was, yeah, happy accident, but yeah, the branding happened really, really well. And we've got that all, we've got trademark and that kind of thing registered. So it's all protected too.
Yeah, super recognizable.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to a few questions. So you are, effectively a nonfiction author, and that's one of the reasons we're really delighted to have you along tonight, because nonfiction can sometimes be a little bit neglected in the indie space, and there is such fantastic potential for people within nonfiction, and in many ways it's easier to market. And this is a question from John, who says, everyone says it's easier to promote a nonfiction book. I'm finding it's the opposite. My readers like my fiction, but they're not interested in my new books. What am I doing wrong? Now, unfortunately, John doesn't tell us what niche he's in, or what his genre is, or whatever. But can you give the top 3 things that he might be doing wrong?
I can certainly try. Yeah, there is. My number one suggestion, without knowing anything about what he's doing, would be the book titles. Because with a fiction book, it's very, very difficult to legitimately put a keyword in your title. And in fact, Amazon actively discourage it. However, any book that I write about guitar, it will be hopefully a good title, but it will also be something I've really thought about in terms of SEO. What are people searching for on Amazon organically anyway? So, complete blues guitar, complete technique for modern guitar, music theory for guitarists, funk guitar, rock guitar, whatever it is. I can be very, very specific in my book titles. So that would be like my absolute number one. It's not even a tip. It's just, it's you must do this. Use your subtitle as well to sort of back that up with other search terms. The very important thing is that you don't keyword stuff, because Amazon will just say no. And you've got to, again, like, have integrity about this stuff. Is this subtitle actually going to benefit the reader by letting them know what it's about? And the answer's got to be yes to that. If you can do that while getting in a few words like guitar, guitarist, learn guitar, that sort of thing, then that's an absolute must, really. And it's generally, I would say, a lot easier to do that in a non-fiction space.
Yeah.
So there's that. The other thing that Amazon really, really seems to like is the fact that my product descriptions have those words in. And again, it's not keyword stuffing. It's almost the fact that the language and the words that I'm using in the product description match the title and the subtitle. So there's like this sort of cohesion there between the two things. I don't know like what skills Amazon have got. They're probably terrifying. But the other thing is like the content of your book. I'm sure they can look at that and see what words are getting used inside the content of the book. It it feels to me like that's a thing, but I wouldn't want to put money on it. You know, the fact that the content is matching the title, is matching the product description. And obviously, of course, the keywords when you set up KDP and create space, that sort of thing. All of that stuff has to look natural and indeed be natural. You know, you can't game the system. Like, you might game it for a week or whatever, but you'll get found out. There's a lot of people that have been banned for sort of, you know, unwholesome practices, I guess, when it comes to marketing their book. Then, I don't know if this is tip number 2 or tip number 3, AMS is Amazon Marketing Services. If your AMS advert, if the language in that matches the languages in your book title, your subtitle, and your product description, you probably, I think, like, my feeling is that you're going to get better results, because you're going to get higher conversions. If people click on your advert because they've seen a book about guitar technique, and that's what they want, but it comes out with a blues book, then they're not going to buy it. Your conversions will be lousy. But if they click on a book that's an advert that's got the right language, it takes them to a book that is what they're interested in, they're more than likely going to click buy. And AMS is certainly our most powerful marketing at the moment.
We'll come back to that, because we actually have another question which specifically asks what you've done around that. A couple of tips, like
just saying, have a website which has got organic. You know, I have loads of, like, 250 guitar lessons on the website, which leads to a book advert on the site, which leads to Amazon. So people think Amazon make you money, but essentially you need to make Amazon money. You need to send people to Amazon. That's how it works.
Okay, that's great. And if I could just add 2 tips around the description. A lot of people don't realize you get quite a bit of real estate on Amazon in particular, but on all the services in terms of your book description. But very often people don't use that. So it's a good tip to kind of use the first sentence, which is above the fold, to give people a sense of what the book is about, regardless of whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And then to use everything else, they have to kind of, you know, for the rest, they have to click read more anyway. And when you're into the read more stuff, it's a good idea to just use the space, use all the character allowance that you get, and, you know, use it mindfully in terms of thinking about keywords that your reader might actually search for when they're searching for that book.
Absolutely. Use headings. I see, like, blocks of text that are really difficult to read. You have to remember online that you're not selling your book, you're selling a picture of your book. You know, like, you need to make people want to look inside it. You need to make people engage with what you're describing.
Fantastic. And the other thing is on categories. Another thing that people don't realize is that you're automatically given a couple of categories by Amazon and a few by some of the other retailers, but you can actually write to Amazon and ask for more categories. So do your category research, find out where you should be. You should be in a mix of large and small, but you can write to Amazon and get yourself included in up to 10 categories, and it's worth doing that. It can make a real difference. Okay, our next question. I have written a comic self-help book based on my experience of trying to follow the advice in self-help books. Could be quite fun, that. Can you recommend, please, a basic marketing plan for me, very low budget, or is it possible, even free? And do I have to buy reviews? Okay, the first part of the question, first of all. So let's go for free. Supposing you've no money at all. So you've done the kinds of things you've talked about. You've set your book up. And the wonderful thing about these platforms, of course, is that they're not free. They do take their commission, but not until a sale has been made. So they're free to get the book up there. It doesn't cost you anything except time and investment in editorial and probably design. But in terms of marketing for free, what would your advice be?
Organic. I think it's difficult for free, and when I started doing this, a few years ago is in a different situation. You know, it wasn't so competitive, and it's difficult without knowing the particular genre of the book that, you know, we're talking about.
It's self-help.
Yeah, so
Comic self-help.
I would certainly get yourself a WordPress site, which is basically free. Buy your own domain, you know, which you can do for sort of £7 or £8, and start putting content online so people start to find you organically. Make sure the SEO is done right on that. You know, Yoast is a great plugin to make sure that your WordPress posts are there. Then link your Amazon book to your articles. Essentially, that's all sort of fairly free, I guess. So it's difficult when you don't have any budget at all, and it's sort of one of those paradigms of self-published authors, independent authors, that I see a lot. It's like, well, I don't want to spend money on this. And my answer, really, my honest answer is, well, if you went to a big publishing house, they are hopefully going to be spending money on marketing you. And if you're going to be your own publishing house, you have to be willing to invest in your product and have faith in it. You know, that's the difficult thing here. If it's nonfiction, all the stuff we said before, get your search terms right on Amazon, get your SEO done there. But to be honest with you, I would be looking at AMS as a very inexpensive, or, you know, if your advert's converting, then AMS is free. They're just taking a cut from later sales. So I'd really be pushing the AMS thing. Personally, if you've only got one book, I'd stay away from Facebook adverts right now. It's really a bit too early than that, and they can get very expensive very quickly while you're testing. So I would really be pushing like organic blog posting, articles, linking to Amazon, and building a mailing list, which I will fill 40 minutes with if we get onto that. I'm happy to talk about it. But, you know, we've, over the last sort of 4 years, we've developed a mailing list of like 33,000 people. So we can just say, right, we've released a new book. We know these guys are going to be interested in it. Let's just send out an email. And that, again, the paradigm of Amazon should be selling our books is not correct. You need to feed Amazon the customers, and Amazon will promote what's selling. That's the sort of little logical link I think a lot of people miss. If you can get Amazon to start selling, they'll go, oh, this is making us money, we're going to make this more visible. That's it.
Okay, so that's the kickoff sort of mentality that is needed. So you keep talking about AMS, and some people will be going, what is he talking about? AMS. So, and we have a question here. Does Joseph use AMS ads? Have they done well for him? Any tips? So first of all, what are you talking about, AMS?
Amazon Marketing Services. This is like, a lot of people will be sort of familiar with Facebook advertising. This is Amazon's version of Facebook advertising, really. So you can put an advert up. I'm just pulling up my, I had this all up before, but I had to close the windows. I'm pulling up my AMS
dashboard.
Control panel. Yeah, dashboard there, right. Thanks for that. So what you do is you go in, you tell Amazon which book you want to market. For me, as a fiction author, I can set it to pretty much automatic, because it'll come up with a great list of keywords, which when people are searching on Amazon for a particular keyword, if they search guitar technique and my guitar technique advert's got the keyword guitar technique, it's going to show it to them. And it can show it in various different places and search results, or you can sponsor products, that kind of thing. So you've basically, was it 90 or 110 characters? I forget how many, but a very short description of your book or promotional piece of blurb, which we copy and paste from our sales page on the website, essentially. And then that's it. So you want a compelling piece of text. They'll automatically put the image of your book in there. It will pull in any reviews. So if you've got some 5-star reviews, it will show that. And it will show it to people who are specifically looking for it. And the advantage, one of the biggest advantages of the AMS adverts, are that they're appearing in front of people who are already on Amazon. So they're in a buying state of mind. And it's going to be shown to people who are interested in what you're selling, your book. Now, if you're on Facebook, you see, oh, that looks interesting, but you know, like this. First of all, you've got to pull somebody off Facebook who's there looking at, you know, pictures of cats and other people's dinner. Get them into a buying frame of mind, convince them that they're interested in your product, and then get them to buy it. And it is quite a long chain. And there are some guys, don't get me wrong, doing this very successfully. And you know, obviously Mark Dawson springs to mind and a few others, but you know, very, very successful with Facebook ads. But in my genre, in non-fiction, in intuition, people go onto Amazon and search learn guitar. I want my books showing there. The brilliant thing about them is if people don't click on them, you don't pay for anything. And I've got one book, I've got a couple of adverts, but they're making money, but they've had 1.4 million impressions. So even if I was losing money, how much would I pay to have 1.4 million people see my books on Amazon? And not, you know, I'm not paying for that.
Okay, and we do hear from a lot of our members saying, you know, they just can't spend their money on Amazon ads. So you know, they're not really going anywhere with them. Did you have to do a lot of trial and error at the beginning, or do you think nonfiction has a big advantage here?
Nonfiction's just got a massive advantage.
Yeah, I think so.
Off that a little bit, but yeah, it's almost a little bit embarrassing because we've done more because we're trying to learn about it, and we, you know, sort of through reading, we do work with clients. We've been learning more about how it works for fiction authors, but because our search terms are so tightly linked to our titles, then they just show. We've got adverts sort of running at about like 15% cost of sale, that kind of thing, you know, and I'm just sort of the best one that we've got at the moment in terms of sales is 931,000 impressions, 1,400 clicks, cost per click 21 cents. We spent $304 and we've made back $1,900 just on that one ad. So in terms of spending your budget, the secret seems to be, and I'm, you know, mercilessly nick this from Mark's course and the stuff that he's talking about, is to have a lot of adverts with a low budget. So you can have multiple adverts for the same book, and you know, try and run them at $1 a day. And if they're not working, you kill them or you pause them. If they're working, you look at them, you see which keywords are working, and then you take those keywords and you build another ad with them and add some more keywords, and you have to, it's trial and error, and it takes time. But you can, if you're analytic and if you're quite organized about what you do, then you can use, you can really get some well converting adverts. And I think at the moment we're probably running at least 100, 150 individual campaigns, because on automatic they probably take about like 10, 15 seconds to set up. Very, very quick to do. If it's fiction, you have to think more about your keywords and targeting authors and things like that, which gets harder. But if certainly in a non-fiction, Amazon marketing services is just a no-brainer. You've got to do it.
And in these 150 ads that you have, each with a very slight variation, or 150 ads over all of your books? Can you just kind of...
Yeah, so we've got about 50 books now, so some of them will probably be running 10 ads on, some of them just like the ad that we got just works and things. So it's a combination of those. Yeah, just changing up the blurb in that the people see that shows up on the advert, changing if something's not working on the automatic keywords, we will go in and do manual keywords as well. So,
and how much time would you be spending on this per day or per week?
Well, my girlfriend's also the director of my company, so she does that. To be honest with you though, a lot of it's just sort of set and forget. Like, you know, I think when we first set up, I publish other authors. I'm not going to experiment with their stuff. I was experimenting with mine. So I went in, got about the 30 odd books that I've put out, and we just set everything to auto. We went through, copied a little bit of marketing text that our marketers had written on the book, pasted it in, set it to auto and go, and like, you know, get your results in 3-4 days later. And we were just like, Lord, we were getting some insane results very, very quickly.
Okay.
So that probably 30 books probably took about an hour.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joseph. So we have a number of questions now about Facebook while we're on the advertising topic before we leave to go on to something else. And I'm going to kind of mash these together because we're rapidly moving along time-wise. So first is a very basic question, but you know, we have lots of new self-publishers joining ALLi all the time. So a Facebook ad for promoting a book, which option is best? Promoting post, product, or page?
Gosh, it's such a difficult thing. Don't promote your page, because any advert that you put, it'll have a like the page anyway. And you got to think, well, what's your goal? Like, okay, you get 1,000 people liking your page, and also what? Are they spending money? Are they buying stuff? Are they interested? Or do they just click like because it's Facebook or their friend liked it? You know, it's a fickle place, Facebook. It's not, you know, it's liking your page isn't a commitment. I'll be honest, like right now, we've been running Facebook ads to go to a page which is it's a video course, like me playing blues guitar licks and teaching blues guitar licks, and that was our lead generation to get people onto the mailing list, and we stopped because the conversions that we were getting, we managed to get it down to about 40 pence per click, which is, you know, it's quite a decent amount of money, really. And then it just started going up and up and up, and so I thought, well, you know, we'll kill that. And that's actually employing somebody sort of pretty much full time to be tweaking these things, you know, an expert to do it. The way I would use Facebook advertising is, if you're just starting out, it would be getting people to a landing page where you're promoting an offer which gave free sign up. So for example, like I say, for mine, there was a picture of me playing the guitar, a little video. That would go to a landing page saying, like, showing the first video with the music and everything, me teaching it. And then, do you like this? Do you want more? Sign up and you'll get 5 free video guitar lessons to your inbox. They would then go into the mailing list, and we've got a very sort of powerful, complicated mailing system. So for me, I would definitely say you want to get people onto your page. Also, there's a new thing, like, you know, people can sign up on Facebook as well. So without having to go to a landing page on my site, what's the name of that type of advert? It escapes me right now. But you can sort of sign up now. It'll just pop up, give your email address, and then it will add to the mailing list. And they've not left Facebook, so it's a little bit less hassle from them, less commitment. So everything I would suggest for a new person to use with Facebook ads would be get people onto your mailing list, and get people that you care about onto your mailing list. You know, I don't necessarily want saxophone players on my mailing list if they're not going to buy a guitar book.
Sure, you're a big proponent, and I don't think I've met any successful indie who isn't really, you know, serious about building their email list. Were you like that from the start?
No, massively missed a trick at the beginning. You know, like I talked about that. The first book I did, it had all these DVDs with it for the audio, and when I published the book on Kindle, I needed a place to put the audio, so that's where the website came. It was literally, I need someone for it's like the 21st century, you know, people want MP3s, they don't necessarily want a DVD or a CD anyway. So I did that, and I just had a link, they could download it. So I probably sold a good few thousand books, well, probably a good few 10,000 books, I guess, and without capturing people's email address. About a year later, I wired up and said, well, hang on a sec, if I get people to give me their email address before they get the audio, then I can build a mailing list for free, essentially. So they buy the book, they want the audio, because it's an integral part of the book. You know, you're learning music, you want to know what it sounds like. So they went on, and I built my mailing list. That was MailChimp. And I think we're about, what was it? It was about a year ago now, we're on MailChimp. We got up to about 18,000 people on MailChimp. And that's all free. That's all organic, essentially, from people buying books. And I thought, well, hang on a sec. I don't really want to be sending my promotions out to, you know, I don't want to be sending death metal books to jazz guitarists, essentially. So we put a little form, which book did you buy? So people now put in which book they buy, and now I know, like, I can promote my blues books to the blues guys, and the jazz book to the jazz guys, and the metal book to the metal guys, which is becoming more and more important as I'm publishing more people, and we're putting drum books, bass books, vocal books, and etc. out. So being organized with your mailing list is very important. But no, it wasn't something I caught on to right away. But all of this stuff goes back onto, like, you've got to feed Amazon. You've got to be able to show them that your products, people want your product. Is your frame, like it or not, is I need to make Amazon some money, so they help get the book.
Got it. And in terms of segmenting your list and, you know, handling it in that more sophisticated way, which again, a lot of the people who are more successfully selling books seem to do, what platform are you using and how easy is it to do that?
I use ActiveCampaign. I ended up paying some guys to set it up for me because it was beyond my knowledge. And they did a great job of that. I don't think it was easy, though. I don't think it was one of the easier ones. Once it's set up, it's great. We've got massive amounts of automation. So you get your book and you get a little welcome series of like a little video of me talking, saying thank you. And yeah, I mean it, you know. You bought my book. I'm flattered, you know. I'm flattered that you would trust me with your musical education, you know. And then you get like a little welcome series, and I make people aware that there are free lessons on the website. And after that, you're essentially tagged with the category of the book that you've bought. So if you've bought like a blues book, you go into our blues automation, which is 26 weeks long. And so just like week after week, you're getting free content, and every now and again, you're getting an advert for a book that's related to your interest. So you bought Blues 1, you're going to get adverts of Blues 2, Blues 3, fingerstyle, blues guitar, and theory book, anything that's sort of related. Which means that if you started on that automation a week before the next person, then you'll get the emails a week before that next person. So constantly we've got this trickle of people going through the automations, and every week that different people will get different adverts. And so that's how we promote all the books all the time, essentially. So it's cheeky, it is quite cheeky, but it works because we combine it with a lot of free content, a lot of free lessons, and that segmentation at the beginning of knowing what book they've bought and what category that goes into, whether it's blues, jazz, rock, etc. That's how we've built it. So we've got these long automations that keep people engaged with free lessons, which they want, and then I think people don't mind the odd promotion, especially if it's something that they're interested in.
Excellent. Okay, do you publish anything outside of Amazon?
We've got some stuff on iBooks, but that doesn't really sell. Like Amazon's probably about 99%. We've got a distributor in the UK, which is Music Sales Limited. So we're in all like the music room stores and things like that. But that's a trickle, to be honest with you. You know, we sell, I think, 80,000 books a year now, and like 90, probably more percent of that is on Amazon. So we're looking at it as at London Book Fair, and you know, we had some good chats with Ingram, and we might start doing stuff with Ingram just to kind of pick up the, you know, the stragglers, as it were. You know, I think they've got good distribution in Australia and places like that where Amazon are, but they're not a big, you know, it's not the sort of a go-to place for music books and things. So we're looking at expanding, and definitely Ingram have sort of said they can offer us a good deal, but that's definitely something for future Joseph to worry about.
Okay, we have a few questions about Ingram and ISBNs and so on, so do jump in. I'm still confused about using Amazon and Ingram Spark for distribution at the same time, and also how the ISBN works. If you get a free one from Amazon, can I use that with Ingram Spark? Do I need two ISBNs? I feel there's conflicting information on this. Okay, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or shall I address it?
I can take it if you want. I know the answers to that, but I've been talking a lot, and you're probably better placed to answer that than me.
Yeah, well, our advice is to use both, and the reason for that is to use Amazon create space for the Amazon ecosystem and to use Ingram Spark for the rest. So if you publish on CreateSpace, you will be given an option to do extended distribution, and Amazon actually in fact uses Ingram to deliver that extended distribution. So if you leave off your tick there, so in other words, publish on the CreateSpace and everything else, but not expanded distribution. And then upload your book to Ingram Spark, and there you opt out of Amazon but opt into everywhere else. And that's how you use both together. In terms of the ISBN, no, you cannot use a CreateSpace ISBN on an Ingram Spark book, and our recommendation is that you have your own ISBNs. And that is because that makes you the publisher of record for one reason, but also that ISBN can then be used on both platforms. It is essentially your ISBN for your POD book, and that would be our recommendation. So it really is quite simple, and by doing that, you max out on what is possible, both in terms of reach, but also in return for your investment. Is there anything you'd like to add, Joseph?
No, just to reiterate, buy your ISBN. You know, it just comes down to, are you willing to invest in your product? And I think I waited until I think I had about 18 books before I actually went back and approached another UK distributor for my stuff. And I think if I'd gone into them saying, well, actually, you know, my publishers CreateSpace, it probably wouldn't have been interested at all. As it was, they said, oh, this is really cool, we like this stuff, and like their first order was something like, I think it was about £18,000 worth of books. And you know, like it's all about being legitimate. The goal is to be completely indistinguishable, and indeed quite often better than stuff that traditional publishing houses are. You know, you're going to be your best, like your cheerleader, I guess. You know, you're going to be the person that's going to be right behind your book, and it's something that you are in control of it, and you can really manage yourself in terms of promotion. So yeah, like invest in your book. You've got to treat it as a business decision. You know, like what's the return on investment going to be? I'm not necessarily going to say like go and spend £1,000 on your book launch if you don't think it's sell that. But you know, like you can. You can come across as a professional author. That's the bottom line, and you should be doing that.
Great. Okay, final question, and this is an opinion really. I recently read that Amazon has its own imprints. Yes, it definitely does. That is Amazon Publishing, which is distinct from Amazon KDP, where self-publishers publish. Someone has told me that eventually they are only going to sell and promote these books and all others will be neglected. Do you think that this is true?
No. I can't imagine Amazon doing anything that's going to stop them making money. They're a business. They're a really big business. They're like worldwide, you know, powerhouse. They're one of the biggest companies in the world. Why would they do anything to narrow the range of books that they will be selling? If it was that, then I'd hate it, but I'd probably go with it, because you know, like they're responsible for pretty much everything that I sell. But I don't know, like, and first of all, who can second guess Amazon? You know, they do like crazy stuff all the time. I've not heard, like, I've you know, Orna and myself, we've both got good ties with Amazon. You know, we're constantly in touch with, certainly in the UK, the managers of like CreateSpace, KDP, and we have a good relationship. They've not mentioned anything. I don't think they would necessarily, but you know, I've not heard anything. And for me, the bottom line is just like focus on your own game. You know, like people go online like, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this, doing this. I hadn't even really sort of come across like the community of ALLi and, you know, what Mark Dawson reads and all that stuff, because I just had my head down, and this I didn't really come across it until sort of last year when I first got invited to speak for the Amazon Academy. It's where I met Orna in London, and I was like, oh wow, this is like whole community. And you know, like met Mark and he interviewed me and things, and it's strange when I came into it, because there was sort of a lot of people that, being blunt, and I'm not talking about Mark and ALLi and Reader, there are people there who are just sort of keyboard jockeys on Facebook. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Might be right, might be wrong, like, but go and find your own way to do it, because you know there are no rights or wrongs with this. There's best practice, and ALLi are definitely the guys to sort of help you out with that kind of thing, because it's just, ever since I've joined ALLi, it's been an amazing like relationship. Any like questions that I've had, it's been right back to me. But you know, like I kind of got successful in my own ecosystem, I guess, and that's not, you know, that's not a brag. It's just sort of point out really that I would be suspicious of anyone that's sort of telling you the, you know, the definitive method to do self-publishing stuff good, because it's so subjective.
There are no rules. Fantastic, Joseph. That's a brilliant place to leave it, and thank you so much for coming in to answer our members' questions. And just tell people where they can find you, find out more. We may have some budding guitarists in the room.
Yeah, definitely. Searching Joseph Alexander Guitar on Amazon is always interesting, and Fundamental Dash Changes, which is right there, if you want to see, you know, like basically how the website's set up, what free content is there, and you know, if you want to sign up for the mailing list and get a load of guitar lessons, you can do that, but you'll start to see the way I've used automations as well. If you don't like guitar lessons, don't sign up. But yeah, like have a look around, you know, it's all there. Feel free to shoot me questions and things like that, and I do try to get back to people as soon as I can.
Fantastic, and thank you again for popping into us, and we'll see you soon in a member forum.
Sure, my pleasure.
Take care now. Bye everyone.
Bye.